Hey everyone, it's Karen Roselle here from my home and my home office. Welcome. This is class number 2 of routines for peace and profit in professional coaching. Professional coaching meaning this is what you do for a living, not a hobby, right? Or at least you want to. And this class is all about elevating your mental game to handle those business challenges that inevitably happen, particularly around your mindset. Because stuff happens when you have your own business, and stuff happens when you actually are in the business of changing people's lives and their minds around something that's really important for them, and also around your negative self-talk. I have it, you have it, we all have it. All right. So it's officially 12 o'clock Eastern. Let me know that you're here in the comments. Let me know if you were on the last class and something that you got out of that. Questions about your routines around your mindset would be welcome as well. So here's what we're going to talk about. I want to make sure first that you are, that this is the right place for you, I should say. It's really good for new coaches. And especially those that are transitioning from another career. And it's also really great for experienced coaches, what I'm going to talk about, because in the beginning, when you're first starting a business, you don't even know what routines to put into play. Like, how do you essentially, do the operations of your business day to day? What do you do and how do you do it? So that's stage one. But when you're experienced in business and coaching, you have to kind of elevate your routines, because what got you to one place doesn't usually take you to the next place. I was just talking with a client about that yesterday and how she's handling her full practice by doing a lot of the inner work that we're going to be talking about. So if you're an experienced coach, welcome. We're going to be talking about elevating your routines to keep it going and thriving in professional coaching. If you're brand new and you're wondering what routines, class 1 will be really helpful for you, that I did last March 22nd, so you can register to get that for free. And also today we'll be talking about one of those routines in your workday that you'll want to experiment with. And I also wanted to let you know that if you're a friend, family member, or a friend of a friend, and you aren't in business but you are wanting to create change, just know that you're welcome here too. Okay, so today I'm going to cover a little bit of mindset to help you kind of take in what I'm going to show you and teach you. I'm going to review last class that I did, just what I covered, so that way you can see where this routine that we're going deep on today fits with that into your whole day when you're working. I'm going to also explain how I figured out that I needed this routine almost every single day, and how it's helped me so much. And I'm going to teach you the routine. It's not something that I made up. I'm going to give full credit to that person. I'm going to give you some examples, and I'll show you how we can kind of stay in conversation if you'd like to join my free community that I have for integrating these routines with an essential oil practice, and how the two fit together really in a really essential way. Okay, so if you're just getting here, just let me know. Say hello in the comments. I will be doing hi Michelle. I will do questions and a little bit of coaching at the end. So jot those down, or I'll do my best to kind of scroll through the feed if you're there. And I'm also going to show you how all the things that I'm talking about, the routine, will fit together. And I'm keeping this pretty informal. This is something I talk a lot about with my clients, very much behind the scenes. So it's kind of like the first few times talking about this pretty publicly, and we'll see how it goes. Okay, so if you were at the last class, feel free to write a few takeaways in the comments. So I'm looking for my notes. Let's start with a little bit of mindset to get us warmed up for our time together here. If you're a professional coach, and if you don't consider yourself a coach, perhaps you're some kind of healer or practitioner, consultant, all of that. But I'm going to talk about coaches because that's primarily who I work with. all kinds of coaches, many in the health and wellness field, some writing coaches, some parenting coaches, some business coaches. It's an interesting mix. I would for sure say 80% are in the health and life coaching kind of field. Okay, and everybody that I work with, we work on really focusing that message so they don't sound like every other coach and streamlining their business. And my approach to all of this is, I'm assuming you're a one-woman show, one-guy show. I have an assistant, very part-time, and I hire freelancers as needed, but it's just me. It's a happy little practice. And so a lot of times out there in the Facebook world, we can definitely receive a lot of education and marketing information that's really coming from, try to get big really fast. And so everything that I'm teaching you today will be coming through the lens of, you're running your own show, you may have a little help. So we have to kind of manage ourselves, our mindset, our routines. There's no one else doing it for us. So let's assume that all things being equal, your message is sharp, you're streamlined your services, you know how to market, you've got that part down. But what ultimately creates results in your coaching business? Is it the perfect message? Let's assume all those things are working well for you. What's really at the root of creating results, positive results, is consistency. Okay, and it's the number one thing that's really challenging. Consistency and marketing, consistency and getting out of your own way. We know consistency creates results in yoga, right? You go regularly, you start to feel great. You're more limber, you're fitter. You go once in a while, not much, like a little bit of fits and starts. If you eat healthy consistently, you will be healthy. If you eat a salad one time or every now and again and call that being healthy eating, right, that's not quite, doesn't quite work. So what creates consistency? Two things: structure and an environment. Okay, like designing the structure, and we tend to, us as coaches and holistic types, we tend to kind of resist structure, but I swear to you, it creates freedom. So we're going to talk about some structure by telling you one of the routines and teaching it to you. An environment is your everyday, all those little things and big things, the people, your coaching community, if you get coached, your desk, the aromatherapy in the room can pull you forward, okay? So how do coaches typically, or practitioners, typically create more structure in environments? How do we, like, what's our first way of doing that? Here's how I did it. I took more trainings, and I had like lots of certifications and trainings under my belt. So I want to kind of make sure that we put a little caveat out there, like what I'm going to teach you today is not a sign for you to go get another certification in this thing that I'm going to teach you, okay? It's a sign for you to use to help yourself and start applying and implementing, okay? Another way that coaches tend to try to create consistency is when in doubt, right? We take more trainings, we go back to that sense of being the good student. Like all of us, I have not met a coach or consultant or practitioner who wasn't like a lifelong learner. And we have like a great comfort in learning new things, unlike a lot of people, which makes us a wealth of information, really great. But I think we overtrain in our craft. Like obviously you have to keep up to date, in your craft, your expertise, sure. But we overtrain that and we tend to neglect like what our mind is doing, how our brain is functioning, and how we're using our thoughts and its impact on our business. And we sometimes undertrain how we treat our bodies. We tend to treat our bodies in a kind of like soothing ourselves, trying to calm ourselves in the face of uncertainty, fears, learning new things. If you're thriving in business, you have to keep learning new things. Maybe even in just your craft, your specialty, depending on what your expertise is. And we tend to use like our health and wellness practices to keep us calm. And I think we need to use them differently. I think we need to use our knowledge base around health and wellness and life transformation to lift ourselves up and be more productive, be more focused, get it done, okay? And really treat ourselves like a high-performing athlete, if you will, or just a high performer of some kind, you know, maybe an artist or something like that. So structure and environment are the two things that are going to help you be really consistent in the way that you want to be, and being mindful of not overtraining in other areas with your craft, and really kind of choosing to be a little bit more mindful in training how you use your mind. It's free most of the time, and what I'm going to teach you is free to learn too. So today I'm going to teach you one of my routines that helps you use your brain, your mind, instead of having it use you. And I liken it to kind of bringing an adult into the room that isn't your brain. So a quick review of last class, because it'll help give you kind of a big picture of what I'm talking about today. Last time I talked a lot about why routines are really important for coaches who, well, I'll say professional coaches who need to earn an income. All of these routines are only important if you have to earn money. Otherwise, it's not that important. Okay, so I talked about the golden hour routine. That is the first hour that you sit at your desk with a timer and creating new business. You're following up, you're doing your one core marketing strategy, and you're doing some keep in touch. That's it. Okay, we tend to avoid that thing, but that's the thing we got to do. Before you do that, we do the golden hour primer. This is the thing that I teach my clients, and this is what I'm going to talk about today. And that is how do you kind of, what I noticed is when I sat down to do my golden hour, like my brain would be like, I should just go on Facebook right now and just like goof off. Or, this thing is making me feel something. I needed to do something. Well, like if I'm only going to use an hour of marketing, I needed a way to kind of prime my brain so that when I sit down, I was ready to go instead of like kind of sludging through my thoughts and feelings about what I was going to do. Because when you're doing your golden hour of marketing, it's usually the stuff that makes you feel big feelings. And, you know, we're humans. We're like, big feelings, run away. Don't run away. So we talked about the golden hour routine, the golden hour primer. We talked about the after lunch reset. We talked about after school, keep calm and carry on routine. And we also talked about after dinner and dishes, the I've done enough routine. Okay, they're very simple ways that kind of like touch points throughout your day, your work day, and how you use the essential oils to kind of, there's these structures, and then use the oils as an environment to help you really make this stuff stick and be actually pleasant and pleasurable. Okay, so today I'm going to go deep on the one routine from last class called the golden hour primer. Let's go into it, okay? So you are going to prepare your brain to do your golden hour. So that way when you hop, like you sit down, like I mentioned, with the timer, this little doohickey, see how fancy it is? It's on my desk at all times. And if my kids take it from my desk, I lose it because this thing helps me stay on track. Believe it or not, you would think a timer would make you feel tight, but it actually just helps you kind of just pull those thoughts back in and be like, just get this one thing done, and then you could go and do whatever. Okay, so the golden hour primer, we prime our brains to get ready to get it done. Okay, so why is this important? Why do we have to do this? You know, God bless you if you don't need this. I don't know anybody who doesn't. But if you're one of those wonderful people who never has mindset issues, I don't know, then I don't know who you are. It's hard to believe, but some people, for sure. This is important because the very nature of having your own business, especially a business in changing people's lives, working on some really deep stuff with people, is it makes us feel a lot. And we get stuck in our head. And when I get stuck in my head, I spin out. And my clients either start to overwork like crazy and get really fast, try to get fast and frantic about their business, and it really kind of tears down their body. And it's not good. It's not a sustainable way to work. And other clients literally freeze up when they start to feel big things. I do a bit of both, so I feel you if you're on both ends. And no matter how brilliant my clients are and whatever client backgrounds they have, whether they were executives or they went to, all the way in school and have doctorates. They're really surprised by their feelings and why they feel so much. So our interpretation of what's going on in our business, our thoughts about it, is our make or break. And so we need a way to kind of access, like, what am I really thinking about this? Why am I feeling this way? Why am I not taking action? We need a way to kind of just get it out of our heads and put it on paper. And what this does for you is that it restores order to your thoughts and your feelings and your actions, okay? And ultimately your results. So it increases your awareness about your own patterns. Like, coaching yourself is notoriously really hard to do and almost impossible to do. What I'm going to teach you is going to take care of that. It also helps you, like I mentioned, help yourself, helps you see things through, because the way that your brain works is this, this is brain science. The minute that you do something that expends more energy than normal, right? Or is something new, your brain is like, stop it, you're gonna die. This is a terrible idea, you're gonna be humiliated. Your brain is basically always trying to seek pleasure, avoid pain, and expend minimal energy, okay? And when you go outside of that, and the very nature of learning something new, and what we're doing as business owners, we tend to have to learn new things and do them and practice and get good at them in front of people. Isn't that the perfect storm for freaking out? So we need a plan for how to address this. It's not you. Once I understood the brain science about this, I'm like, it's not me. It doesn't mean I'm not made to do this. It is literally just how your brain functions. You're a human being. Now let's, what's different now is all of us, in the time that we live in, we no longer have to feel uncomfortable. The minute you're uncomfortable, what can you do? You can go watch Netflix. You can go easily get pre-baked goods. You don't even have to bake them yourself. You can go to your cup. You can overeat, overdrink, over Netflix, over Facebook. There's tons of ways to just lower the discomfort, quiet it, soothe it, numb it, okay? So for you not to do that and be willing to kind of try something new in your business, or hire a new coach in your business, or dare to do something that feels big to you, doesn't mean that you're trying to be famous or make $1 million. It still feels big to you. So your brain could have a problem with it. So let's anticipate it and have a plan for that, okay? And ultimately, why the golden hour primer, this routine that you do before you actually sit down to do your golden hour of marketing, is about becoming. It's about reinventing yourself. It's about using all your multiple sources of intelligence that you have available to you, your brain being one of them, to work for you rather than to kind of be in disarray and boss you around. Becoming who you want to be in your business, you're making yourself over all the time. And it sounds kind of dramatic, but I can't explain it any other way, I remember that just even giving my first presentation and realizing I didn't die from that, but that was a huge breakthrough. And then all of a sudden gave me the courage to do the next other thing. So reinventing yourself is part of the deal if you're going to thrive in private practice or in a coaching practice. It will take some hard work, right? We're not talking about you can't rest or that you have to burn out. It will take some gumption, which means you're going to need some courage, and you're going to have to manage your mind. So I will say that before this routine, here's how I managed my mind. I would get stuck. I would feel something like I'd be doubting myself. I'd be like, I don't know if this is a good idea. I just would get stuck in my head, and I would spin out, and it would be days, weeks, sometimes even months. And I would say there was a time where there was a couple years where I was just freaked out. This has happened, I'm 19 years in business. There's been many times in my business where I got stuck in my head. So every time I would get stuck, I'd feel really bad, and I'd start to kind of try to soothe myself with, eating cookies or whatever I could do until it was bad enough. And then I would okay, get my journal and start writing. And then I would, do my EFT, and I would use all these tools that I know that you have too that help you get unstuck, but I would use them fervently until I felt better. And then I would feel better and I'd be back on it. And then something else would happen eventually, whether it was months or weeks or days later. And then I would create this cycle of doing great work, working furiously, having a challenge. Then it could be a challenge like a client acted a certain way or said something, or it could be a money challenge. It could be just a big feeling challenge, doubt, fear, anything. And then I would repeat the pattern of okay, wait till it got really bad, and then get sick of kind of numbing, and then repeat I gotta journal, I gotta do the EFT, I gotta take my flower essences. It would be this whole throw everything at it until I got better. We know that that is not a sustainable way. And let's look at other areas of our life, right? We know that if we water our plants pretty regularly, they thrive. If you water them only once in a while and you give them water, the soil is really dry and just goes right through. We know that if you skip meals all day long and then you decide to go grocery shopping, it's really hard to make good decisions. And then you leave with all these things that you never would normally buy. Routines, everyday routines will keep you on the rails and they will save your business. You will have challenges. You're supposed to. That's how your brain reacts to anything that's not out of the norm. And we know that, I liken it to this, if I leave my dishes in the sink all day long until at the end of the day, it's a big pile, and all day long it feels kind of gross in my kitchen. Whereas if I just make a habit of once the kids go to school, I just tidy up the kitchen and restore order where I work, and then it's just part of my routine. It takes a few minutes rather than it's this whole kind of drudgery all day long. So this is the same for your routines and your mindset. We need a way to kind of have an easy 15-minute, 30-minute check-in with ourselves. It just becomes a habit, becomes a practice, so that way things don't get too bad. And we stop the feast or famine in our marketing. We stop the self-doubt. We don't literally choke it to death. Self-doubt comes and goes. I have a whole lot of doubt about these calls I'm doing with you. I'm maybe I shouldn't do them. I mean, I should know about this by now, that this is normal. But I take them really seriously when I'm, oh my gosh, I should probably cancel this call. I got to sit down and do my thought work. Okay. So here's how it works. I'm going to go over how it works. You're going to need pen and paper, so please be sure to get one. So before I sit at my desk to do my golden hour, that one little hour with my timer to do my marketing. As a marketing person, I don't even want to do it. So if I don't want to do it, of course you don't want to do it. Before I do that, I sit on my couch with my journal. Any kind will do. In the fine weather, spring and summer, I will usually, after the kids, the routine is, get kids out the door to school, or in the summer, they might go to a fun little summer day camp. Then I tidy up my kitchen and my office. My office is now in the living room, since my daughter has my office now as her bedroom. That's all done. I've eaten breakfast, done all my morning, brush my teeth, the whole thing. I will sit down and do my golden hour primer. And sometimes if the weather's nice, I like to go sit under my red maple tree. So you can make this as pleasant as possible. I will begin to diffuse my essential oils for the morning, because now the breakfast scents are out of the house. And typically how I want to feel is stimulated, focused, because I need help to focus like everybody else. So my two favorite oils to diffuse or apply, if you don't have a diffuser, definitely get one, is wild orange. I'm sure it was this one. Here it is. Wild orange. This is yes, energy in a bottle. It's citrusy and a little bit sweet, but not too sweet. It's just a good mood in a bottle. And peppermint. When you have real peppermint, not like a synthetic kind or adulterated kind. It is just heavenly, and like the stimulating energy of peppermint and the sweet tart scent of wild orange together, to me, is like my ideal start my work day. So I will do this when I sit down and do my golden hour primer. I can do other oils, but those are my everyday go-to ones. Okay, so I will diffuse or apply the oils and create kind of environment, and it starts to remind my brain and create positive associations to doing this, okay? And then I will sit down in my journal and do a quick raindrop dump, like a little download of all the thoughts running around in my head. I don't, this can take 5 minutes. This can take a few minutes. Just put it out. It's like, I just tidied up the kitchen. Now I'm tidying up my brain. What the heck's going on in there? What are the sentences running around in your brain? Write them all down. And sometimes there'll be things like, and the kids, and this and that, and like, just get it out. And I'm like, okay. Sometimes it's a few sentences, sometimes it's the page. Then I will write down the following. Did I leave it over there? I will write down the following. The letter C. On your piece of paper, write it from top to bottom. Letter C, T, F, A, R. Let me remind that little list. Oh well. So write that down. C, T, F, A, R. Okay. Next to the C, I want you to write circumstances. Okay. Next to the T, I want you to write thoughts. Next to the F, I want you to write feelings. Next to the A, I want you to write action. And next to the R is results. So at the top of your page, you should have circumstances, thoughts, feelings, actions, results. Okay? So after I've done my morning thought download, or brain dump, whatever you want to call it, don't judge it, I just get it out of my head, and it's like, now I can see what kind of mess is in there. And I look for a thought or a feeling that is kind of giving me some suffering. It can be a teeny tiny suffering. It can be like, suffering. And let me tell you how this little model works, okay? The C is circumstances, and that means things that are out of our control, or a fact that, this client said that, this client showed up late, or no one has signed up for my talk. Our thoughts are the interpretations we have about those circumstances, okay? What we make it all mean. Our feelings, right, are the emotions we're feeling. And sometimes we have to be able to decipher our emotions and physical sensations, okay? So just like, it helps to be like, where am I feeling this in my body? And be like, oh, what does that feel like? Anxiety, nervous, whatever. And the actions is, how do we act when we feel a certain way, feel this way? And R is the results of all this put together. And how this works is circumstances trigger feelings. Circumstances trigger thoughts. Our thoughts determine our feelings. Our feelings determine actions. We're in action. And our actions ultimately create results. Positive, negative, neutral, the whole thing. So you got that? Let me know if you have that on paper. Give me a little thumbs up thingy so I know you're following along. That's what you need to write down, okay? Now I look at my thought download and be like, is there a thought in here that I want to pull out and kind of unpack? Okay, so here's what I will do. Oh, can you see this? Okay. All right, let me see if I can do it this way. There we go. Okay. So I'm essentially trying to figure out, like, this is a thought that I get all the time. I don't have enough time, no matter how much time I have, no matter how much money I have, just like, I don't have enough time today. I notice that I'm starting to feel stressed about it. What do I do when I'm stressed? When I'm stressed, I don't be like, oh, I'm going to make so many great choices in my business, in my life, and I'm not going to eat muffins all day long. When I'm stressed, I want to hit the cookies, and I just want to watch Hallmark and really just be brain dead. What do? I procrastinate and I check out. Another way of checking out is like buffering. It's like I start to whatever, overeat, overdrink, whatever you want to call it. What is the result of procrastinating and checking out? Not enough time. Like you end your day feeling like, well, what, I don't even know how to use my day. And you don't feel proud at the end of the day. When I'm at 3 p.m., 3:15 at the bus stop, I want to feel good. That's when I'm like, how did my day go? My kids are, it's like my transition time before kids come home. I do not want to end that day thinking, there goes another day. I have only 25 hours a week to bring in bank for my family, okay? And serve my clients superbly well, okay? And do my marketing and admin, all of that. I cannot jerk around with my time. And I also don't want to be militaristic with my time, right? So that's what I do. I do my brain dump or thought download. I write down CTFAR, right? Like you see here. Whoop. And I have this memorized by now, what these all mean. C is for circumstances, T is for your thoughts about it. And here's the thing, we always think that our thoughts are our circumstances. Like, I don't have enough time. Well, it's true. I only have 4 hours left. It's absolutely true. No, it's our relationship to time that's a circumstance. Like, that's the thing. I have 4 hours to get my work done today. That is a fact. That's what's available. How do I choose to think about it? Results in my feelings, and my feelings will determine how I behave during the day, how I act or don't act, and that creates my result for the day. So then after that, I create an intentional thought pattern. Do you guys like my really high-tech presentation? So fancy. I'm cracking myself up. I'm like, wow, Karen, you're really professional level. So then I create an intentional thought pattern for the day. I write down the same thing, CTFAR. I write the same circumstance, and this time I am going to be in choice about how I respond to the circumstances. There are like 100 different ways I can interpret this, my relationship to time. Well, one thought that loosens things up for me is, I have plenty of time for one thing, to get the one essential thing done. And all of a sudden, that thought triggers feelings like, you know what, I feel kind of capable and almost abundant. And when I feel these feelings, capable and abundant, I plan, I use my time wisely, and I create things. And the result is, I use time wisely, and I have enough time to get the one thing that is essential done. That is it. I'm going to give you lots more examples. So before I sit at my desk, I do a brain dump. Then I pick a thought. Sometimes I can't pick the thought, and it's just like this emotional flaw on the paper, and I'll just like, I know I feel kind of like apathetic, or I feel sorry for myself for some reason. I don't know why. I often think it's the circumstance that's causing that, but it's really, I'm just not used to kind of understanding, oh, I have this stinking thought about it, and that's why it's creating this. So you do your brain dump, you write down, you circle one thought, and you could do this a bunch of times with a bunch of thoughts, but most days I just do one. That's enough to get me going. On days I'm having a really hard time, I'm really challenged, I might have to do this again after lunch, but most of the time not. And then for the day, it's kind of like borrowing the practice from AA, not in AA, but just for today, that's all you're doing. You're practicing this. And then I start to use my own skills of like, well, what would make me feel capable and abundant? Well, if I use my time wisely, how can I dress to feel this way? How can I eat today to be on purpose and feel capable? What is the one thing that I'm going to get done? I'm going to plan and choose. So that way, if it's the only thing I can get done, I know by the end of the day, I'm going to feel pretty great about it. And that's it. That is my golden hour primer, okay? On Mondays, I tend to give myself a full hour of this because after parenting all weekend, I feel like I'm a cruise director for kids, like nonstop. I'm like, what would you like to do next? You know, or hey kids, we're spring cleaning today. It's like there's someone talking to me all the time. I'm an introvert and I'm like, yeah, too much. So come Mondays, I usually need a little bit more time to be like, kind of I stumble into Mondays. My kids are little. And I will give myself an hour. Most days it's 15 minutes, 30 minutes, I'm in, I'm out, and then I go straight to my golden hour and get the thing done, okay? So, let me make sure I have that down. What this does, it really creates clarity. It's like, wait a minute, why am I, like so many of us, we don't know why we're doing what we're doing. And even for me, you know, like some days I'm like, I know I'm feeling a weird feeling, but I don't know why. Like I need to sit down and put it on paper and figure out what am I thinking that is creating that. And a lot of times I'm feeling like the circumstances to cause. And this is something that I practice with my clients all the time, because if they can create some space between what's happening in their business and their feelings and understand that their interpretations or their thoughts are driving the pain or the discomfort, I know they'll be able to figure this out and stick through this and be in this for the long game. So it creates a lot of clarity. So you start to see your patterns. It's kind of humbling at first, especially if your mind has been kind of a hot mess for a while. You will be like, oh my God, my husband knows to never look at my journal. Otherwise he'll probably, I've told him, I just scared him away from it. And I said, if you pick up my journal and you look at it, you'll probably want to leave me because I will sound crazy. Because I just put it all on there and it's for no one else to see. No one would ever make sense of what I wrote because it's all scribble scrabble. But you know, I have a joke with it with my husband. I'm like, listen, don't look at it. And he doesn't because he's kind of scared of what he would find in there. And he should be. So it really reveals like what your unintentional patterns and then puts you back into puts you back into your power. It gives you choice again. So it reveals your unintentional patterns, and all of a sudden at the end of that first model of your unintentional thought pattern, you can ask yourself things like, is this serving me? Is this serving my business? Is it serving my family? You know? And sometimes, no. Most of the time, no. And when you start to create your intentional thought pattern for the day, you want to be really mindful of like trying to go from like stressed to like super confident. You have to understand there's a ladder of emotions, and it helps if you're only trying to go one or two rungs. Like there's confidence and joy way up here and like stress is way down here. And you might want to go for feeling capable or understanding, compassionate, you know, patient. This is something I talked a lot about in the last class, that we as coaches tend to run, I've noticed this in my clients and in myself, we tend to run our emotions on our business on like 6 emotions, you know, like confident and excited and stressed out and really doubtful. So that's 4, but you get the idea. It may be really helpful to print out a list of emotions. You just Google that, you'll find like a million. Print one out. So when you do this thought work, you may not know what you're feeling. And when you look at the list, you can be like, oh, that sounds like it. And it also can help you from going from stress to like, maybe there's other emotions on there that that has helped me so much, because I usually can't think beyond like 6 or 7 emotions. And so I'll find patient or generous. What would it feel like? What would I have to think to feel generous today? Or abundant, and so on. Okay, and then it just puts yourself back into choice and moves you out of that reaction and into choosing your response. Okay, I'm gonna give you a couple more examples, but I wanna really give full credit to the woman that I learned this from. Her name is Brooke Castillo, and she runs this company called the Life Coach School. And I really recommend her podcast. It's a free resource, and it talks a lot about all this stuff. But you see that this thought model kind of encapsulates all the things that you've probably studied in your personal development career. I've studied the law of attraction. I've studied tons of things in health and wellness. I've studied lots of emotional freedom technique. I've studied a lot of things that help people, help myself, all these tools, but they felt very scattered and like, which one do I use on which day? And there was never a way to kind of, especially with the laws of attraction, you know, quantum physics, quantum mechanics. I've studied brain science. Like I know so much about like how to change behavior, but like coaching myself is the challenge. And so this model allows you to recognize your own thoughts and feelings and be in choice about it, you know, and again, reminding you're not trying to go, at first you're doing a lot of thought swapping and it feels so much better really quickly, but then you start to gain comfort with like discomfort. You know, sometimes yesterday when I was doing my thought model, I was feeling really kind of quiet and I had a full day of things and I was feeling kind of like, wah, poor me. I just want to spend the day being quiet and cozy with my books. But at the same time, I have this great business to tend to. And I realized I could just choose a different thought that was really honoring how I feel and how I can be quiet today and still really show up. And that thought was like, what? And that made me feel patient and understanding. And then it informed how I was going to do my day. I'm going to make sure that I really give myself extra nourishment today because I feel like I need some, and take care of myself and also show up in XYZ ways. And the result is I was going to have a great day. You know, and this is where I use the oils. I'm going to give you a couple more examples, but this is where, okay, however I want to feel that day, whatever thought I want to practice that day, I look at my essential oils and be like, okay, like if I was feeling, let's do another one here. This is a good one. Let's do another one here and you'll get the idea. I will look at my oils and say, how do I want to feel? And I will see which oils I will be diffusing during the day. Maybe it's more of the wild orange and peppermint, like I told you how I start my day. But then I will go back to those routines I shared in class number 1, and my after lunch reset will be, okay, well, today is about feeling clear and capable. What are the things that make me feel that way? Well, I love bergamot. You know, it's a kind of the citrusy lime scent together, and I love the essential oil blend Balance. Like every time I give a talk, I diffuse these too. This is great. The Balance is great for your mental game and making sure you're feeling grounded. And when you're feeling overstressed in your brain, and bergamot is like the entrepreneur's like mental game boost. And I will diffuse that, and it will remind me of what I'm doing, what I set out during the day. You know, or maybe I needed to get more juice going in my, like I chose like a higher energy state, and then I might diffuse something like passion, which is a little spicy. It has a little cardamom and cinnamon and like some, it's just a little bit spicy and it's a little bit like shakes you up. We as women, we need our environments to make us feel like women. We do not have to act like men and become mom bots where we're just like, oh, getting it done all day long. And at the end of the day, there's just like you're depleted. The sensuality of these oils, especially when you use a therapeutic quality oil, not the stuff in the health food store or the department store, you see them everywhere. That stuff is like you're putting toxins in your air, okay? It's just not good. Get yourself the good stuff. And even so, after lunch, I will diffuse some oils. Before the kids get home, I make that transition. I will use different oils, and I will help myself stay in touch by cultivating an environment that helps me live into that routine that I set out in the morning, okay? My morning golden hour primer, and the intentions I set, and the emotions and the thoughts and the actions I want to execute during the day. To prevent myself from feeling like a mom bot, I use essential oils at different times of the days to help myself, you know, execute that, but in a way that makes me feel like really pleasant and pleasing and pleasurable. Okay, Let me give you another example. Here's a, oh, you guys, let me check these things here. Okay, thanks for the comment. Yes, thanks for keeping it real. Well, yes, I do keep it real. Sometimes too real, I think, but okay. Okay, let's do another one. Okay, here's one that happens for my clients, because I teach giving talks as a way to create clients at greatlittle talks.com. Unintentional thought pattern. No one registered for my talk. Well, what's your thought about that? This isn't working. How do you feel? Don't you feel sorry for yourself when things aren't working? Or is it just me? It's just one emotion, right? You could put something in there. What do you do when you're feeling a little sorry for yourself? You buffer. You start giving up. Maybe you start Googling jobs. I've done that. Or you become very susceptible to quick fix marketing solutions that make 10K in 30 days. Okay, when you feel lost and sorry for yourself, that's when you start to change your mind and your marketing. And what's the result of changing your mind, doing these little quits of like Googling for jobs, or you start giving up and you start checking out, you buffer with overeating, over drinking, and over Facebooking. It doesn't work. The thought always proves the result, always. So instead, you could be quite intentional for the day. Same circumstance, this is a fact, it's out of our control, 0 people registered for the talk. Here's a thought that I always give to my clients. I have more than one shot at this. We've all had 0 people to show up for our talks. I'm still here, 19 years later. I have more than one shot at this, because that is true, because when you're not used to marketing consistently, there's so much pressure on the one marketing thing that you do. But when you market consistently, you have more than one shot. If one email doesn't quite work the way I thought that I sent out, no big deal. I plan on writing again anyways. It's not a one-time thing. I start to feel determined and capable. What do I do when I feel determined and capable? I'm going to show up for my golden hour. And maybe I'll see if one of my friends who's well-connected will host a ladies' night-in talk at her living room. I will give that talk. And you create more opportunities to give talks. That's what you practice for the day. And check in with right after lunch when you set your diffuser again. What you look at your essential oils, what would make me feel capable and determined? A little citrus, a little mint. What would help me show up for this? Use your environments, particularly the essential oils, to do this. Let me give you another one. Here's a good one. Okay, let's see, make sure the light's right. I have 5 hours to work today. Sometimes it may be easier to kind of just figure out, like, I feel scattered and unfocused and I don't know why. And I feel like bad because I only have X amount of hours to work today. And see how I'm feeling scattered and focused because I think this is making me feel scattered and focused. Oh my God, there's so much pressure to get it right if I only have a few hours to work, right? You moms know what I'm talking about, right? You have a business and a family, like you can't goof around. No, it's this thought here. I have to figure out what I'm thinking, And that will tell me why, like, all of a sudden I get to choose a different thought. And I realized my thought was, I have too much to do. It's too much. It's all too much. It makes me feel scattered, unfocused. And then what do? What do you do, right? I'm giving myself and clients as some examples. Busy work. I just do stupid busy work. And I make no real progress. That is the result. Is this result serving me, my family, my business? No. Okay, well then let's do something else. Ooh. Hello. All right, here's an intentional thought pattern. Write down those initials again. I keep doing that, isn't that fun? I have 5 hours to work today. Okay, well, the thought, it's all too much. There's too much to do. I'll never get it all done. That wasn't serving me. How about, you have to pick a thought that's really believable for yourself. Like, well, I could do one thing, one essential thing. This is where it's also important for you to know what is essential in your business. So, like, you can't just be throwing things at the wall, right? I can do one thing. So I know I'm going to show up. I know exactly what I need to do in my golden hour. So do my clients, so they could just, I'll do my golden hour. And all of a sudden I feel capable, the thought, I could just do one thing. And I ask myself, what is the one thing that I could do today that will make everything else in my business either unnecessary or just much easier? That's a great question. I got that question from a book by, I think it's called The One Thing. Yeah. He runs, the guy who wrote he runs Keller Williams Realty. It's a great book. And then what are the results? I get the essentials done. Forget the busy work. I got it done. I may not get everything done, but I got the essentials. All right, let me give you another one. La la. Ooh, here's a good one. Client asks for refund. Bah! What kind of, you might immediately just feel defeated or angry. And you think it's your client asking for a refund that's causing that. No, it's your thoughts about it, your interpretations. And you just slow down enough to jot this down, saying, well, you realize your thought is like, I'm not really good at this. I must not be good at this. And when you're feeling defeated or angry, what do? Do you overeat? Do you give yourself a hard time? Do you deflect your responsibility in the situation? Do you do these little quits? Do you Google jobs? I've done all of this, by the way. And the result is you act like you're not good enough. Like the ending of this relationship with the client will not be good, right? It doesn't feel good for you. I've had these situations for sure. You can choose an intentional thought pattern about this. Will client ask for refund? I love sometimes just asking yourself a different question if you can't even find the thought. This is one of my favorite. What would love do? What would love do for my business? I'm here to care for my business and make it thrive so that way my family is taken care of and my clients are taken care of. But what would love do for my client? And what would love do for me to make sure that I'm not just bending over backwards and just taking abuse? And all of a sudden I get to this place where I feel willing to kind of handle this. I feel like I might be able to handle it and feel capable. And from that place, I might be able to decide from love. All right, how can I make this be the way that I want it to be? And make my decisions from a place of love. And then I feel good about how I handled it and how I ended the relationship. Okay, right? I've got one more for you. So client, I have my client. Maybe not. That might be it. And I did the time one too. This is the kind of conversations that I have in my essential oil community. Once a month, I host a community call where the first half of the call is all about what are your routines and how can we make sure that you use your oils, the good oils, to help create an environment that pulls you forward. And what routines are you implementing and studying and doing some trial and error with? And it's really a pleasant conversation to be in, right? Because a lot of times routines have bad reps and tends to be kind of very masculine and depleting. And I think there's a whole other way to be talking about routines. As you can see, that it's about being mindful of our thoughts, using structure, the structure of the golden hour primer, and using our environments with our oils to let the oils work on our brain, right? These things are volatile. They get into your body, they get into your brain, they start, the limbic system in your brain is where all these emotions are housed. And all of a sudden you start to entrain yourself to thinking positively about doing all your routines that create the right results for you and your business. So if you want to join me, all you have to do is go to KarenRoselle.com/essentials. And there are 3 ways that you can get some oils. I give you recommendations on that page. And send me an email. You don't have to let me know what you get. Just let me know that you've got something, and we'll get you in the group. And that's all we do is it's a group of women of substance, most people with women who have a business or want a business. And some of my friends and family are there too. And a few times a week, we share just, hey, what's working? What routines we're using? Different things like, I do things like, hey, I just realized I had this oil called Aroma Touch. And at the end of my day, I will put a few drops, you know, while I wait for the kids to show up, or right when we walk back in from the bus stop, and rub it around my neck. And it just is a mental, it's like a physical environment that I literally circle around me and tells myself I've done enough for the day. It's time to get in my body and be present and be available here instead of like be mentally going. Okay. Or if I have aches and pains on my body, I will use Deep Blue, and it again helps me. I love this at the end of the day, helps me power down and start to be available, you know, as a wife, as a mom, as somebody who wants to take care of myself and go for a walk, things like that. Okay. So if you want to continue being part of the conversation, you're welcome to show up for our remaining 2 calls. I'll have one a month, one in May and one in June, and that'll be it. The next 2 ones are on sleep and also your moon time, and how I found they're both so essential to how I showed up in my business. So I'm almost like, I feel like I'm becoming like a little bit of a biohacker. How can I use my brain differently so I get better results? I don't have tons more energy, tons more time, but I need to be able to use the multiple centers of intelligence that I have in my heart, in my soul, in my brain, in my spiritual practice, and bring it all together so I get really great results in minimal amount of time. And that is way abnormal. That's not how people work, okay? If you want abnormal results in your business, you need abnormal routines. Most people don't do these things. All my clients, no matter how smart and brilliant they are, they're so good at what they do, I have to teach them these routines, essentially how to operationalize their everyday one-woman business. And in that routines, you start to feel a sense of security. Because if you just show up for them, even if there's no results right away, you feel these other tools in your environment, like the oils, and they work together synergistically to pull you forward. All right, my friends, who's got questions? All right, I will write the URL. And if you just joined, we're wrapping up. Oh, come back and get the replay. I put the link in the comments there. That's where you can get a little starter kit of oils and join me in the essential oil community for routines and lifting ourselves up, particularly for women in business. Who has any comments or questions about this? I'm going to also look on the coaching call to see if we have some people there. Cool. I got some thumbs up and some hellos. Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else have a question or comment or takeaway? If you don't want to do that now, you can also go in the Facebook Live, the event page, and there'll be a discussion forum there where you can ask me questions if you think about them later, and also you can digest what you got from this today. All right, hey, we're right on time. All right, last call for questions or comments. Feel free to pop them in there. Oh, that's so sweet. My husband just joined. I'm done, Drew. All right, everybody. Thanks for being here. I hope this has been helpful, and I look forward to connecting with you again next month. Bye, everybody.